First, get a $250 gift certificate from Castronauts with each new Buick purchase through December 10th. Second, factory rebates plus Waller's year-end discounts will save you thousands of dollars. A $1,250 rebate on this Regal. Add our discount and save up to $3,400. Save up to $4,000 on a new Park Avenue. Factory rebates, huge year-end discounts, and a $250 Christmas gift certificate from Castronauts. Don't sign anything until you've seen Waller Buick.
Shop the all-new Madison Square this Christmas. All of your printed material leaves a lasting impression, so make sure it's a good one. Have Pip print all your letterheads, business cards, and flyers, because Pip prints success stories. There's a Pip near you. Rimco features rental ownership with no long-term obligation, no credit hassles, free service, and same-day delivery. Enter to win a microwave oven at Rimco in Madison Square. Celebrate Madison Square's grand reopening with the Christmas Wish giveaway.
A delicious dessert recipe that's a piece of cake, today at 11.
A huge earthquake in the Soviet Union has left thousands, maybe tens of thousands, dead this morning and forced Mikhail Gorbachev to cut short his visit to the West and return to Moscow today. The quake devastated Armenia, also rocked Azerbaijan, Georgia, and eastern Turkey. The earthquake registered 6.9 on the American Richter scale. Good morning. I'm Kathleen Sullivan in Havana. It is Thursday, December 8th.
I'm Harry Smith in New York. Welcome to CBS This Morning. Good morning, Kathleen.
Good morning, Harry. Soviet spokesman Gennady Gerasimov is one of those getting ready this morning to fly back to Moscow. We'll get the latest on that disaster from him in just a couple minutes. And also, we're here in Cuba because Mr. Gorbachev was due here tomorrow. A big welcome and important meetings with Fidel Castro were planned. We will find out how the Cubans are learning this morning that the Soviets will not be coming. Harry?
Also this morning, as assignment Gorbachev continues, reaction to the Soviet leader's visit and his surprise decision. Former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger is going to join us. And later, not all the Soviets are leaving. Aaron Moriarty reports from a show where they're trying to sell Soviet cars to Americans. And also this morning, Kids and TV, a new report, is firing up an old dispute. Is it good or bad for kids? TV, that is. Now, Charles Osgood has this morning's news. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, Harry. Good morning, everybody. The word that Gorbachev is leaving today hit New York like a bombshell. The Soviets made the announcement at a midnight news conference. Barry Peterson reports.
It was a stunning end to what had already been an incredible day. Foreign Minister Shevardnadze saying that the earthquake damage in Armenia was worse than originally thought, that Gorbachev simply had to go back home.
Preliminary data indicate that in the Armenian Republic, thousands of people have died.
Officials said Gorbachev felt it was immoral to stay when he learned of the extent of the damage. Trips can be postponed and rescheduled, a top official said, but Gorbachev felt his people needed him.
Despite the fact that all necessary measures are being taken to overcome the extremely grave consequences of this disaster, Mikhail Gorbachev believes that when a people is suffering, he has to be there.
And Gorbachev must be careful to pay attention to the stricken area, already torn by months of ethnic violence between Christian Armenians and Muslims in nearby Azerbaijan. His support in the area has already eroded. He simply couldn't be seen going on with his schedule, sightseeing in New York, when there was tragedy back home. Barry Peterson, CBS News, New York.
Gorbachev will be taking off later this morning from Kennedy Airport, where security is in place for the turnabout in plans. Terrence Smith is at JFK now with a live report. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Charles. The Soviet plane behind me is one of several that are scheduled to depart periodically through the morning, taking the Soviet party back to Moscow, and then after a stop on to Azerbaijan to view the earthquake damage in that area. Soviet leader Gorbachev himself is expected to go out in the late morning. Obviously, all of this bringing an abrupt end to a visit that yesterday was being hailed really by both sides as a significant step forward in terms of this warming of relations between the Soviet Union and the United States. Specifically, the Gorbachev proposal for a reduction in the overall size of the Soviet armed forces and withdrawal of some units from Eastern Europe as well. American reaction to that so far has been cautiously positive. Secretary of State Schultz describing it as a step in the right direction, but pointing out that even the reductions proposed by Gorbachev will not equalize the two sides in Europe, so more negotiations will have to follow. Those will have to wait, however, while Mr. Gorbachev goes back to deal with, obviously, a very serious national and natural disaster. Charles?
Thank you, Terry. Gorbachev will be riding by motorcade there to the John F. Kennedy Airport from the Soviet UN mission in Manhattan, where the decision was made last night to head for home. Betsy Aaron is at the mission this morning. Morning, Betsy.
Good morning, Charlie. There's a little bit of activity behind me as we stand outside the Soviet mission. The cars are getting ready to form up for the motorcade to the airport. Just a little bit earlier, a rider van came in here to pick up the luggage, to take that to the airport. There's been a lot of activity, but it's been very restrained. It's whatever you might say passes for normal outside this embassy with the barricades and the policemen. Word first came here just before midnight that President Gorbachev was going to cancel his trip. There was a private phone call from Ambassador Dubinin to the White House announcing the plans, so that all this tourist talk about today, taking a walk in Central Park, going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, that is all off the schedule. Under the circumstances, it would not be highly appropriate for the president to spend the day touring New York. There's hope in this city that under this new relationship of glasnost and perestroika, that he'll be back.
Thank you, Betsy. Betsy Aaron there at the UN mission. The reports we're receiving this morning from Armenia tell of incredible damage and deaths over a wide area. Tom Fenton joins us now in London, where some quake information is coming in. Tom, what are you hearing about the damage?
Well, in addition to Armenia, apparently there is damage in the eastern parts of Turkey, perhaps in the Soviet Republic of Georgia, and also perhaps in parts of Iran. It is a tremendous earthquake, and of course it's all centered in Armenia, and particularly near the town of Leninakan, which is described as absolutely devastated. All buildings that are 8 stories or higher have been simply destroyed. Buildings of 5 stories are mostly damaged, and only smaller, older buildings, individual houses of 1 and 2 stories, are still standing. Many of the casualties occurred because it happened at 10:40 in the morning when schools were full and factories were full.
I guess it's still way too early, Tom, to know with any precision exactly how many people have been killed or injured.
Early Soviet estimates are tens of thousands, and I would think that's a modest estimate.
Thank you, Tom. Tom Fenton there in London. Gorbachev's sudden return home this morning follows a remarkably upbeat day in New York. In his speech to the United Nations, the Soviet leader had announced some sharp cuts in his country's military forces, and he enjoyed an apparently cordial luncheon meeting with President Reagan and President-elect Bush. The Reagan-Bush administration is still sorting all this out. Jacqueline Adams is at the White House this morning. Morning, Jackie.
Good morning, Charlie. At this point, White House officials say they're fully accepting the Soviets' explanations for Mr. Gorbachev's cutting short his visit. The president was informed of the change of plans shortly after 11:30 last night, following a call to the National Security Advisor from Soviet Ambassador Dubinin. In large part because their business was concluded so early in the day yesterday, White House officials this morning are saying that the change in plans really doesn't affect Mr. Reagan and Mr. Bush's generally upbeat assessment of the Soviet announcement of paring Soviet troop strengths. And as you had said, it really doesn't influence the very, very positive reaction to the philosophical, delightful lunch we're told that the 3 leaders had. Of course, Mr. Reagan plans to go ahead with his news conference tonight. That news conference was originally intended to divert some of the media glare away from the Gorbachev's visit.
Thank you, Jackie. Jacqueline Adams there at the White House. In business news, in Tokyo today, stock prices plunged. In Europe, the dollar is trading lower. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose yesterday more than 4 points to close above 2153. In London today, gold is at $423.30 an ounce, up 50 cents. Silver is up 3 cents to $6.17. For now, that's it from the news desk. Here's Harry.
Thanks very much, Charlie. We want to get a check on the weather right now with Mark McEwen. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Harry. Good morning, everyone out there. Happy Wednesday, is it, to everyone out there? I think it is Wednesday. Actually, it's Thursday. The governor called. Have a reprieve. That's beautiful. Well, we have a tale of two weathers, I guess we could say, this morning. Northern tier of states basically cold and clear. Down south, oh, we have a mess going on. Down in Texas, let me put this down here because icy conditions do prevail in the panhandle. Some portions of Texas are seeing rain turning into freezing rain. Also, other portions of Texas are seeing rain turning into snow. But down through the southern half of the states, oh, I tell you, a lot of rain, a lot of snow, and also snow through the Colorado Rockies down into New Mexico as well. So as I mentioned, it is wintertime, beginning to look a lot like Christmas. I've been singing that for the last couple of days. Out west, temperatures basically seasonable, 50 degrees in Las Vegas. There's some cloud cover over the Pacific Northwest. And up in Alaska, 23 in Anchorage, minus 19 in Fairbanks. And that's pretty nippy right there as well. 70 and lovely in Honolulu. Hey, it's a Thursday, which is Friday Eve. You know how I feel about that. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather.
Chance of rain today and turning colder. High temperature is going to be 47. The rain will change to snow after midnight tonight. Snow flurries in the forecast for tomorrow with a high of only about 39. I'm Joe Case.
Coming up, a wake-up call for a little tiny state, but a very important one. Harry?
Joining us now to talk about the last-minute decision by the Soviet Secretary General to leave the United States and head back to the Soviet Union is former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger and Gennady Gerasimov, the spokesman for the Soviet Foreign Ministry. And of course, we have to talk about what happened yesterday, both at the United Nations and the discussion that the General Secretary had with President Reagan yesterday as well. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. First off, there is a cynical response to the Mr. Gorbachev's returning to the Soviet Union, which says part of this was in part dictated by the fact that he's having trouble at home. Marshal Akhramayov resigned yesterday, and a lot of people think that that's no coincidence, that he can't support Gorbachev's decision to cut back 500,000 troops in the armaments that he proposed yesterday. Respond to that, because that really is a response that's running through a lot of people's minds this morning.
Wicked minds. You responded yourself when you said it's cynical. There is national tragedy there, disaster, and our leader must be there where people suffer. This is the only reason. Otherwise, he would have stayed to prolong the effect of his very important speech.
How widespread do you know right now the damage is, and do you have any idea how many people have died?
Originally, the first news we got was that it was earthquake, that it was big, but we had no numbers on casualties. The numbers came a little bit late in the day when we took this decision to go home, and why we were slow with numbers, because many of communication lines were destroyed. So the victims are in thousands, and damage is extremely big, so that's why Gorbachev decided he must be there.
All right. Let's talk about some of the things that happened yesterday. Unilateral withdrawal of 500,000 troops, talking about tanks, talking about armaments in Eastern Europe, without any seemingly, there were no strings attached. How should the United States be responding to this?
Well, of course, it all happened at a moment when the United States cannot respond, so that for about 2 or 3 months, my friend Mr. Gerasimov here has to feel to himself. We have an outgoing administration that can't make a long-term commitment, and an incoming administration that doesn't have a team yet. So we can't respond until sometime late winter, early spring. What we need is, we need a dialogue now with the Soviet Union in which we are determining, both sides, what we really intend to do and where we really intend to go. These numbers, I'm not saying there's any comparison, but in '56, Khrushchev was here and spoke about the total abolition of armaments and the abrogation of all military plugs. One has to know what type of tank is being destroyed. Is this a modernization program in which the old tanks are being destroyed, or is it the useful tanks?
So are you saying you don't believe?
No, I believe it. I absolutely believe that they will do what they have said they will do. But it's to be done over a 2-year period. The impact on our Western alliance will be immediate. as Mr. Gerasimov very well knows, there's a big debate in NATO right now about modernization of its forces. People will undoubtedly say, how can we modernize our forces when the Soviets are planning to withdraw? And we have to get our act together and determine where do we try to go within the alliance. And the Soviets and we need a serious dialogue where this whole process is going. Take the case, if the Soviets really withdraw, they really sharply reduce their troops in Eastern Europe, either by agreement or unilaterally or both. If the Soviet capacity for offensive operations in Western Europe is diminished, the capacity to repeat what happened in Czechoslovakia, Hungary, East Germany and so forth, namely to repress uprisings, will also be diminished. So then are we going to have a powder keg in Eastern Europe? And how will that be negotiated? Can we negotiate security zones which assure Soviet security without the right of intervention? Problems of this kind, that's not, that doesn't diminish from the importance of the speech, which was an important speech.
You said, so is it, you agree that
it was an important speech, without any question.
Because one thing it seemed that of most significance, you said would take force out of foreign policy.
Well, there were a lot, I mean, it covered a huge range. The first quarter of it, which developed a philosophy of foreign policy, which, in my view, is unprecedented in Soviet history. It's a totally different philosophical approach. Now, is it propaganda? Is it meant seriously? That has to come. Of course, he'll say it's serious. And
go ahead.
The question is,
let's give him an opportunity.
We need to
say
discuss
that.
it.
Well, tanks are serious, and when we are just cutting them, it's serious. You see, first of all, we declare that we have this defensive strategy now, and we must now show in practical terms what we mean. Also, we are talking now about sufficiency. How much is enough? Usually, military people think that the more is the better. The more elephants, the more artillery.
Is that why Akrameyev quit?
No, that's different story. He quit for the reasons of health. And he is still there in a sense that he is going to be an advisor to the chairman of the State Military Council, and the chairman of the State Military Council is Gorbachev himself. So he will be there.
Is all of this, because there seems to be a real revolution going on here of some sort, is this for expedience or is there real ideological change?
It's both. It's real ideological change, which we define as new political thinking. We want to de-ideologize, how we pronounce it, sorry, foreign relations.
Ideologize.
De-ideologize foreign relations. We want global issues to take the priority. One of them is nuclear disarmament.
And you see, one of the problem really is a lot now on the Western side. When they talk from shifting from an offensive to a defensive posture, the fact is nobody really knows what the difference is precisely. And so we are negotiating with ourselves to an important extent. And these are some of the things that need to be clarified.
We invited the West to discuss this conceptual things. We did.
It needs to be done. That is what needs to be done now.
All right. Dr. Kissinger, Mr. Gerasimov, thank you both for joining us this morning. 17 minutes after the hour. Next from Havana, Cuba reacts to the visit. That won't happen.
At Kroger, we give you the most for your shopping dollar by cutting your costs where it counts, on products you use every day. Just look for the Kroger scissors. You'll find values on brands you like best. Kroger has the buying power of over 1,000 stores. So the more we buy, the more you save. With low prices you can compare anywhere. You'll see the difference when you go Krogering.
The cornerstone of trust is the foundation of the future, where confidence is standard equipment. Jim Reed Chevrolet. Confidence that must be earned. Because at Jim Reed Chevrolet, when we put our name on it, our reputation rides with you. Jim Reed Chevrolet, a tradition of excellence for almost 6 decades in the heart of the city, between 15th and 16th on Broadway, downtown.
I've been away so long, but no matter where I'm gone, I'm never away for the holidays. I'm bringing Christmas home.
This Christmas, bring home Lee fashion jeans from Target. The relaxed fit jeans for men and women.
Target, bringing Christmas home.
Jones Home Furnishings in Columbia is closed today to mark down prices, to rearrange stock, and to prepare for a giant 9-hour public liquidation. Jones' lease expires. Building must be vacated. The liquidators have taken command. He sets the price. He makes the deals. He is cutting prices lower than we have the heart to do. Everything ordered sold, wall to wall. It's 9 hours of wild selling, Friday only, 12 high noon to 9 p.m. 9 bargain hours, Friday, one day only, 12 noon to 9 p.m. at Jones Home Furnishings in Columbia.
First official word in Cuba that Mr. Gorbachev would skip his visit here came at 3 a.m. in a news conference held by Soviet and Cuban foreign ministry officials. Mr. Gorbachev would have been the first Soviet leader to visit Cuba since Leonid Brezhnev did back in 1974. Joining me now is Juan Vasquez, who covers Central America for CBS News. And Juan, while the papers this morning don't even reflect the fact that Gorbachev's visit has been canceled, when the news spreads, I would guess that while they'll be disappointed that Gorbachev isn't here, these people will be very saddened by what has happened in Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Well, that's right, Kathleen. It is a big letdown for them because they've been told now for a lot of days this is going to be a very big visit, a very big event, a privilege for Cuba to receive the General Secretary of the Soviet Union. However, they've also been told for 30 years that the Soviet Union is the biggest friend that Cuba has abroad. They get $5 billion a year in aid from the Soviet Union. 75% of their trade is with the Soviet Union. A lot of hospitals donated by the Soviet Union, that sort of thing. The idea of our biggest international socialist friend abroad is the Soviet Union, so they're going to feel very sad. They're going to feel a lot of sympathy for the Soviet Union.
I think there are about 3 scheduled meetings between Fidel Castro and the Soviet leader Gorbachev. And would anything substantive come out of that now the Cubans will have to put on hold?
Well, there's been a lot of talk over the past couple of years that there are differences between the Soviet Union and Cuba over perestroika and glasnost. As you know, Fidel Castro has several times very explicitly and very bluntly rejected the idea of applying perestroika and glasnost to Cuba.
He's never even said the word perestroika. There's some people here call it the P word.
That's right, absolutely. They want to get the idea across that this is not for us. But last year, General Secretary Gorbachev, while Fidel Castro was in Moscow, very clearly said each socialist country has the right to follow its own path towards socialism. He was going to come here to reaffirm that principle.
Was there any expectation that, such as Mikhail Gorbachev did at the United Nations General Assembly, would announce any kind of Christmas surprise, as we've been calling it?
Well, if he wanted the visit to be successful, he was not going to make any unpleasant surprises, not with Fidel Castro.
Like say I'm going to tamper with your $5 billion in aid.
Oh, absolutely. So there might be some welcome surprises, some sort of new friendship treaty, some sort of window dressing.
30th anniversary is coming up. It's a good opportunity for Mikhail Gorbachev to come back here.
Perfect opportunity for Mikhail Gorbachev to come back here. However, careful, there's a risk there. Fidel Castro doesn't want anybody to overshadow his revolution.
Juan Vasquez, thank you so much. Coming up next, Arm & Hammer, the Soviets' very good American friend.
Enter the world of Oriental cuisine at the Golden Dragon Restaurant. The Golden Dragon offers you the finest Chinese food in all of Nashville, with over 100 different dishes ranging from seafood splendor to steak to the Golden Dragon colorful nest. The Golden Dragon's expert staff will help you select the dish which will be the most enjoyable. Whether it's lunch or dinner, the Golden Dragon is the best place for Chinese food. As the old Chinese proverb says, he who eats at the Golden Dragon will come back again and again.
Listen up, don't be left out in the cold. There is some hot news in the whirlpool tonight.
Pollenex presents the Whirlpool Deep Heat Spa with heated air bubbles. For long-lasting penetrating massage and deep relaxation, the Whirlpool Deep Heat can't be beat. Turn on a smile with Pollenex.
There is some hot news in the Whirlpool tonight.
Great way to relax. Available at Service Merchandise, Sears, and True Value.
Old man winter is already battering many parts of the United States, so the time to get to Burlington Coat Factory is now for the first choice of the largest selection of winter coats and jackets in the country. What every member of your family needs to keep warm, no matter how cold it gets. And because Burlington is famous for low prices, you can get your new winter coat at the lowest price imaginable. That should make you feel warm all over. Burlington Coat Factory, America's #1 place to save on the coat you want.
Rivergate Mall, the season is here.
There are 395 magnificent Christmas gift ideas in the Nashville Trunk and Bag catalog, plus another 435 in the store. And you know what? There's not a humbug in the bunch. For fine luggage, leather goods, and extraordinary gifts, always begin with Nashville Trunk and Bag for Christmas and beyond.
Rivergate Mall, the best time of year.
From Channel 5, this is an Eyewitness News update.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brenda Blackman. Here's Joe Case now to tell us about today's weather.
Well, it should be an interesting next 24 to 36 hours weather-wise out there. First of all, let me show you the cloud cover that we have ahead of and along and behind the cold front that's moving our way. These showers and clouds will be moving in throughout the day today, and then a little bit later on this evening, after about midnight, the cold air will come in. That should change to snow. On our radar, we have a couple little showers here up over south central Kentucky. Most of these are moving to the east-southeast right now, and a couple little light showers in that ground clutter for us. Right now outside, we have cloudy skies and 42 degrees and some sprinkles here and there today, breezy with rain, and a high temperature expected to be 47. Stay tuned to us about the latest weather information. Brenda?
We will. Thanks, Joe. We do have one accident to report for you at this hour. It's located at Thompson Lane and Sidco Drive. In our news, an accused murderer is back behind bars this morning after a short taste of freedom. 23-year-old Kenneth Netherton escaped from the Davidson County Workhouse yesterday with 2 other men. Netherton managed to elude authorities after the other 2 were caught, but he was finally captured at a relative's house in the James Casey Homes in East Nashville. The 2 other prisoners are Nathaniel Harrison, charged with robbery, and Tony McCarroll, charged with burglary. All 3 were being held at the workhouse pending trial. Police are still looking for a suspect in the attempted kidnapping of the wife of millionaire businessman Phil Bredesen. 47-year-old Andrea Conte was parking her car outside her gourmet cooking shop yesterday morning when a man with a gun forced her into a white Lincoln Town Car. Conte was beaten when she resisted, but managed to escape through an unlocked door. Her husband says she suffered a broken hand, a broken cheekbone, and cuts to her head. Police recovered the pellet pistol apparently used by the kidnapper, as well as a cap and a pair of sunglasses, but they are not saying whether those items contained fingerprints identifying the suspect. A controversy that's nothing to cheer about. That story right after this.
First, Gillette made shaving closer. Then we made it smoother. With Atra Plus, its Luber Smooth Strip glides the razor over your face for Gillette's smoothest shave. The Atra Plus system. First we made it closer, then we made it smoother.
Seems like Mandrells have been using White Rain shampoo and conditioner forever.
The White Rain family of hair care.
There'll never be another for me.
Beautiful hair at a beautiful price.
The NAACP is booing over attempts to change a rule for picking cheerleading squads in Knox County. The rule says that schools with either a 5% minority student body or 50% minorities must have a minority representative on the cheerleading squad if one tries out. Many parents feel that the rule is outdated because the squads are no longer chosen by popular vote. They say a rigorous selection process in which a qualified panel picks the cheerleaders is sufficient. But the president of the NAACP's local chapter says the potential for bias still exists, even with a minority member on the selection committee. She says the organization will take action if the policy is rescinded. Mary Ann Mowry should have something to cheer about today. She's the woman who needs $95,000 to get on the list for a life-saving liver transplant. Doctors have given her just 9 months to live without the new liver. But today, a $75,000 donation is expected from a Wilson County businessman who first saw the story here on Channel 5. That's our news. Thanks for joining us. Have a good day.
Shop the all-new Madison Square this Christmas. Sovereign Bank has served the Madison community for over 30 years. Stop by the Cash Flow 24-hour banker or come in and register to win a $50 savings bond at Sovereign Bank, member FDIC. The Video Place has a great selection, fast, friendly service, and 2-day rentals on Saturday. Enter at Madison Square to win your copy of E.T. The Video Place, 5 locations to serve you. Celebrate Madison Square's grand reopening with the Christmas Wish giveaway.
Here's the key to your new S10 pickup at your Tennessee, Kentucky Gold Medal Chevy dealers. Rugged 89 S10 pickups as low as $69.74 or $132.65 per month with GMAC Smart Lease. Need power? S10 with 4.3 V6 has more power and torque than Ranger. Now get $500 cash back and save $1,900 on option packages. Go for it. Your hometown Tennessee, Kentucky Gold Medal Chevy dealers.
A delicious dessert recipe that's a piece of cake today at 11.
Welcome back to CBS This Morning. I'm Harry Smith in New York.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan in Havana, Cuba.
Mikhail Gorbachev's decision to return to Moscow today came after he'd completed the major business of his visit, a UN address and a meeting with the president and vice president. American capitalist and industrialist Armand Hammer has spent decades building solid relations with the Soviet Union and its leaders, and he's going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes. And Erin Moriarty takes us to a trade show here in New York where the Soviets hope to get into the American market with a new car.
Harry, I want to show you yesterday's paper. Here it is. It says, "We will give a warm welcome to Mikhail Gorbachev." Well, they don't have their chance now, and the newspapers haven't come out yet this morning saying the news that his visit has been canceled. More than 500,000 people were expected to line the streets here today to greet Mikhail Gorbachev, but now Cuban citizens are just waking up to learn he's not going to be here, and we're going to get reaction to that in this half hour from an American-Cuban expert who spends a lot of her time here. Now the news. Here's Faith Daniels. Faith?
Kathleen, at the top of the news, Mikhail Gorbachev cutting short his New York visit because of the catastrophic earthquake centered in Soviet Armenia. Whole cities were devastated by the powerful quake. Taller buildings filled with workers, schools with children are said to have crumbled. Communications with the stricken region are difficult at best, but there are reports that tens of thousands may be dead. For the latest on the quake, we go now to Jonathan Sanders in Moscow. Jonathan, what can you tell us?
Faith, in Moscow, we're hearing that the casualties are mounting extraordinarily high. The official death toll is 2,000, but people are talking about deaths in the tens of thousands. People are also saying that there are more than 100,000 people who've been injured. 200 hospitals in nearby Georgia have been opened up to take away the evacuees, and the refugee problem is just enormous.
We can see what looks like tremendous damage on the early pictures out of there. What can you tell us about damage?
Well, the Soviets have a scale for measuring earthquakes. It's a little different than ours. It registered 8 on the Soviet scale. When I called one of my geology friends, he said that means destruction. And I said, how much destruction? And he said a lot, because the buildings aren't that strong. And if it hit where there are a lot of people living, as it supposedly has, there are going to be huge, huge casualties. Some people here are saying that there's an entire city or large town, Spivak, that disappeared.
Even before the earthquake, Jonathan, there were huge numbers of refugees in that ethnic violence-torn region. What can you tell us about that?
Well, there are said to be over 100,000 Armenian refugees before the earthquake hit. The Moscow authorities had reprimanded local authorities down there for handling the situation so badly. This is going to only add to the woes, and it's probably the explanation for why Gorbachev has come back. It's a huge disaster.
Thank you very much, Jonathan Sanders, live in Moscow. Well, Gorbachev's surprise announcement came at a midnight news conference. Foreign Minister Shevardnadze saying the earthquake had killed thousands at that time. That's what he said. He also said the tragedy forces Gorbachev to cut short his visit and return home today.
despite the fact that all necessary measures are being taken to overcome the extremely grave consequences of this disaster, Mikhail Gorbachev believes that when a people is suffering, he has to be there and he has to lead the efforts.
Shevardnadze also said Gorbachev's plans to stop in Cuba and in Britain have been postponed until an appropriate time. We, of course, will keep you posted on all the developments throughout the morning. Now back to Harry and Kathleen.
Thanks very much, Faith.
I'm Kathleen now.
Well, you could dress a little differently.
Well, that's true.
Help things out here a little bit. How are you this morning?
I'm fine. I have to run out and get my leather skirt. I'll be back in a couple of shakes. Let's do a little weather action.
It is Thursday.
It is Thursday.
I just thought I'd help you out on that.
Friday Eve.
There you go.
That's what you call it. Let's take a walk over here and tell you that this morning's weather segment is sponsored by Comtrex Multi-Symptom Cold Reliever, medicine that helps relieve major cold symptoms. Let's see, a little toast. Yeah, there you go, a little breakfast activity. Going up to Hartford, Connecticut, the 10th annual Channel 3 Carol Sing tomorrow night at the Old State House in downtown Hartford. WFSB, a CBS affiliate, you knew that, they host it. And you may see some snow tomorrow, but it should end by the time everyone gets caroling and singing and fra-la-lying and all that sort of good stuff. Now let's talk about the weather. Cold northerly winds will be sweeping across much of the nation today, but it's in the southern part of the country where we're seeing a mess. Rain will extend from southeastern Texas on up into the Tennessee Valley. Don't be surprised if a few big thunderstorms develop along the Gulf Coast as well. You see snowflakes in there as well. Let's talk about that also. Southern Plains, it's going to be a real mess where a mixture of snow, sleet, and freezing rain will produce a dangerous glaze on the roadways. Then we just have plain old snow to mention, maybe 3 to 6 inches today, and that will cover much of New Mexico. Bingo, there you see it, as well as the Texas Panhandle also. So it's beginning to look a lot like snow. You thought I was going to say Christmas. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather.
Chance of rain today and turning colder. High temperature is going to be 47. The rain will change to snow after midnight tonight. Snow flurries in the forecast for tomorrow with a high of only about 39. I'm Joe Case.
And that's a look at the snow, the sleet, the rain, and the cold. Harry?
Thanks, Mark. 24 minutes before the hour. Next, Arm & Hammer. And still ahead, the cars the Soviets hope will put them on the American road to success.
For miserable cold, what can you give me besides sympathy?
You could take a dose of Sudafed for your stuffy nose, plus 1 chlortrimeton antihistamine for sneezing, plus 2 regular Tylenol for aches and pains, plus...
Are you kidding?
Plus 2 teaspoons of Benylin DM for that cough.
I'm not taking all that.
Well, you can relieve exactly the same symptoms just by taking Comtrex Multi-Symptom Cold Reliever.
It's that simple, then you take these. I'm taking 2 Comtrex.
Comtrex, all alone, it does it all.
Norelco's new coffee makers do more than make coffee. They bring out the best in your coffee. All new coffee makers with System 190, balancing time, pressure, and just the right temperature to bring out all the aroma and richness you look for in every cup. Norelco coffee makers bring out the best in your coffee.
Freedent's the one. If you've got dental work, you've got 3 great reasons to chew Freedent gum. You know Freedent won't stick to your dental work, and Freedent freshens your breath. But maybe you didn't know that Freedent moistens your mouth. So if you hate a dry mouth like I do, chew Freedent.
Freedent's the one that took the stick out of gum, and Freedent moistens your mouth. Yeah, moistens your mouth and freshens your breath while you chew.
Non-stick Freedent moistens your mouth and freshens your breath.
On the horizon, there's something so stirring it will send you in a whole new direction. Tropicana Twister. 6 refreshing fruit flavor combinations that will surprise your tongue and splash you with flavor. Like orange, strawberry, banana. Here it comes. Tropicana Twister. The taste will blow your thirst away.
Industrialist Arm & Hammer is an American who can look at Gorbachev's visit from a unique perspective. He has dealt with every Soviet leader since Lenin. and he has often served as an unofficial link between the United States and the USSR. And Armin Hammer joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Harry.
You had a good seat yesterday at the speech, and you went to the cocktail reception at the UN last night, had a chance to chat with Mr. Gorbachev. What was on his mind?
Well, the main thing we talked about was Afghanistan, because I've been shuttling back and forth between Washington, Islamabad, even Kabul. I made 2 trips to Kabul and to Moscow, trying to work out a solution. As you know, the Russians have taken out half of their troops, but they've slowed up now on the other half, and we've got to finish the job. And I think that the meeting that took place in Saudi Arabia between Mr. Vorontsov and the Mujahideens, it was the first time that they met directly. And I advocated that in a letter to Mr. Gorbachev, and he sent a message to me that he was going to follow my advice.
Did Mr. Gorbachev indicate to you that that meeting between the Mujahideen and the Soviets, that there had actually been some progress?
Yes, he said definitely. But he said the job is not finished. We've got to finish the job. And he said, I'm going to talk to Shevardnadze. He said, I think you ought to go back to Islamabad and meet Vorontsov there and see if you can't finish the job. He said, I want it finished. I want to get the troops out of there.
He called yesterday at the UN for a ceasefire. How likely is it really that there could be one by the 1st of the year?
I think this is very important. It's an important concession because originally the United States offered the Russians that we would stop supplying troops to aid to the guerrillas if they would stop supplying aid to Najibullah. The Russians refused. They said, no, we have a treaty with Najibullah. Well, the result was that both sides were shooting continued, and the Russians were angry. They felt that they'd been let down. It wasn't true. Now the Russians have come around.
Do you think the United States government really does have influence, though, in the Mujahideen? It seems to me that since the Soviets have started to withdraw from Afghanistan, that they have gone hell-bent for leather trying to get as much of their country back as possible. Can the United States really influence them and say, put down, stop fighting until the withdrawal is complete?
Definitely.
You think so?
Yes, because they depend on us for supplies. We've been supplying them with most of their high technology armaments, and the Saudi Arabians have been supplying them with money. And the fact that both Saudi Arabia and the United States have told them not to attack the Russians while they are pulling out, I think is very significant.
Yesterday, Mr. Gorbachev called for a reduction in troops of 500,000 men. He's also talking about taking tanks out of Eastern Europe and armaments. You are intimately familiar with the economy of that country. How much of this is motivated by money or lack of money and the sour economy over there?
No, I think very little. I think we must give Gorbachev a chance. I believe in the man's sincerity. I believe that he wants peace, and he wants to withdraw as much troops as he can. And I think that if we will negotiate with him, we'll find that he's ready to meet us halfway. I think this was a significant step, that he was willing to reduce his troops by 500,000 in Russia and 50,000 in his allies, and he was willing to cut down on tanks and other armaments. I think this is very significant because it was unilateral.
Mr. Hammer, it's good to see you again. Thanks for joining us this morning. It's 18 minutes before the hour. Next, we'll go back to Havana.
Florida quality orange juice. It wakes you up and it tastes like a dream.
Orange juice, there's nothing like it in the world.
100% pure Florida quality.
The gift wrappings of Hallmark. Hundreds of ways to let you create a look that's you and only you. Gift wrappings that make presents look special, that say, this is from me to you, with love. Gift wrappings you can find only at Hallmark,
where there's more to Christmas than ever before.
Another day is turned to night. Close your eyes, say goodnight. Sweet dreams are on their way. All is well as you end the day. Sleep safe, sweet dreams, good night.
Sominex has the one ingredient doctors recommend most to help you fall asleep safely without worry. Sominex.
Good night.
If you want great tartar control and a great deal more, new Tartar Control Aquafresh will knock you over. It reduces ugly tartar buildup and more. It also helps remove plaque for healthier gums and more. It fights cavities with fluoride and more. It's got a taste that beat the leading brand. Great tartar control, great taste, and a great deal more. New Tartar Control Aquafresh.
Where can you find creamy, soft robes trimmed with lace and embroidery? Robes that zip or wrap, all just $27.99. Find these and more now, only at Sears.
Next week on CBS This Morning, Peter Allen. Also next week, Marlo Thomas. Plus, Beauty and the Beast's Ron Perlman.
First official word here in Cuba that Mr. Gorbachev's trip had been canceled came at 3 a.m. from Soviet Foreign Ministry officials, and the man who delivered the news joins us this morning. He's Viktor Komplektov, the Soviet Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs. Good morning, Mr. Komplektov. What do you know about the devastation that the earthquake has caused?
I had a word from our embassy at around 1:30 this morning that there was a disastrous earthquake in our Trans-Caucasian republics. These are, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. And they said that the major impact was in Armenia, about 8 by Richter scale. They also said that there are thousands of victims and major destruction.
Mr. Komplektov, victims meaning deaths or casualties?
I mean just victims, I mean just casualties, both killed and wounded.
Do you know how many people have been killed from this earthquake?
No, not yet.
You do know somehow that its ramifications, that there is such great devastation that it's important enough that Mr. Gorbachev must call off this trip.
Yes, that's true. Well, first of all, the importance of the significance of what had happened, accentuated by the fact that the State Committee was headed by Premier Ryzhkov. Usually it's some of his deputies, but this time was Ryzhkov himself. So this is a clear indication of the size and the character of what had happened.
Is it important because it is Armenia, it is a place which there have been numerous disturbances, domestic disturbances at home, with protests and arrests, that Mr. Gorbachev feels he must go to this area?
No, I don't think so. I guess, I'm sure it's because of just physical consequences, natural consequences of the earthquake.
Now that the trip has been called off, is there some remorse on your part? There's something that Mikhail Gorbachev wanted to tell Fidel Castro in person that he can't necessarily communicate on telex, over the wires, or through dignitaries?
They have very good and very personal relations. And whenever they want to talk to each other, they have, just means to do that. But of course, the personal meeting between them here in Cuba would be of greater significance, I would say.
You said that it'll be rescheduled at an appropriate time last night. What would that be, the upcoming 30th anniversary?
I hope it will be, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It depends on how much we have to do to address, all these problems which come out of the earthquake.
Thank you so much, Mr. Komplektov, for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Aaron?
Thanks, Kathleen. It is 12 minutes before the hour. Next, Aaron Moriarty and what the Soviets are trying to sell us now.
Mom gets a cough and cold, everyone suffers.
Mom, Dad's ironing.
Time to doctor that cough with Robitussin.
Look, Mom's feeling better. Uh-oh.
Robitussin, recommended by more doctors, pharmacists, and Dr. Mom. If this is your idea of a hot breakfast, think about this. In the time it takes to make coffee, you can make hot scrambled eggs, sizzling bacon, and crispy home fries. Swanson Great Starts Breakfast. A real breakfast in minutes.
Crawley's been foreman here since I was a girl. He loves oranges. And only one orange juice, Tropicana Pure Premium Homestyle. It's pure juice with no water added or taken away. But what makes it special is sweet, juicy bits of orange. Crowley says it has the taste and feel of fresh squeezed. Your choice, Pure Premium Homestyle with juicy bits of orange or Tropicana Pure Premium. You just can't pick a better juice.
You tell him, Mary.
This portion of CBS This Morning is sponsored by Vidal Sassoon's Salon Premium Hair Care and Styling Products.
Before his abrupt decision to cut short his visit, Mikhail Gorbachev had scheduled a stop today at New York's Jacob Javits Convention Center, where he was to open an unprecedented exhibition of Soviet-made goods. The Soviets want to balance a 7-to-1 trade deficit with America by exporting more goods to this country. And consumer correspondent Aaron Moriarty joins us live from the convention center with a sampling of what the Soviets have to offer. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, Harry. One of the products that the Soviets hope will drive open trade here in the U.S. is a car, a Soviet-made car, already exported to 108 countries, called a Lada. And if you look over my shoulder, you kind of see what there. It's a prototype of one. It kind of looks like a princess telephone. Now, you may never have heard of the Lada, but the Soviets know it very well. In Moscow, the car is better known as the Zhiguli. It's the most common sight on Soviet streets, with more than 500,000 in Moscow alone. There aren't any local dealerships, so if you want to look a car over, you have to travel to the massive Zhiguli Technical Center on the outskirts of town. Anatoly Revin is the Soviet version of the car salesman. Obviously, there's a bit of a language barrier here, but you get the point. What we call a hatchback. It also comes with front-wheel drive, a 4-cylinder engine, and 5-speed. All familiar features. Anatoly Revin insists the cars are ready for American drivers. There's only one way to find out. I took a test drive in the Zhiguli. I kind of like this. Doesn't seem to have much pickup. See, the transmission seems fine. It's very easy to switch gears. Let's see if it works in reverse. This is not a bad little car. Drives pretty nicely. And that's surprising when you consider the reputation that has built up around Soviet cars. And in England and Ireland, where the car has been exported for years, there's a popular theory about why this rear window is heated. Not to keep the window clear, but to keep your hands warm every time you have to push it. But here in the U.S., the Lada shipped in for the exhibit is different, say Soviet trade officials.
What we are showing, we consider it's good. Let's wait what Americans will say about it.
And to entice Americans, there's the price, expected to sell for around $5,000, plus options you don't see in the Soviet Union, like a padded steering wheel. In the Soviet Union, the car comes with only one option. You either get a radio or you don't. But Soviet drivers say for all its failings, the Zhiguli has one outstanding feature. It always starts on the coldest of Moscow mornings. A car that starts every morning, especially in the cold weather, would be very attractive to northern states.
But don't expect to see the Lada within the next year. Any kind of deal that the Soviets would make to bring in here will take some time. But if they do bring in a car, and whether it looks like the prototype or not, no one really knows. If they do bring it in, it will probably compete with the low end on the market of cars, somewhere with the Hyundai and the Yugo.
The Yugo, which people don't seem to be buying very much of anymore.
No, and that's a big concern that there'd be the same kind of problem with the Lada, because the Soviets have trouble getting enough parts for their own country. So there is a big question whether they could make enough parts for this country as well. They could bring the car in and then not be able to service it.
We saw you do stories on Soviets and their TV problems and trying to get their washing machines fixed, and the Lada coming into the United States. What's your overall impression? Do they seem to be making some kind of consumer progress?
Well, from the vantage point of consumers, in the sense that people are beginning to think of themselves as consumers, I think there's some progress there, where Soviets may at some point learn how to demand more. Up until now, the Soviet government has really just treated people as someone to accept goods, to be given goods, instead of people demanding certain things. But if you're there in the Soviet Union, you don't see a change. You see still the same lines. You see still the poor products. One of the saddest things about being at this exhibit here is the fact that there are all these goods coming here and not being made for the Soviet Union, because the Soviets need the cash so much.
Erin, thanks so much. Do
Thank you,
appreciate
Harry.
it. 6 minutes before the hour, CBS This Morning continues.
Which is more extraordinary? Vidal Sassoon's Salon Premium Hair Products, or the woman who uses them? Vidal Sassoon, if you don't look good, we don't look good.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Everyone's asleep. Shh,
I know how to wake them up. Come on.
Happy holidays from Folgers.
On CBS This Morning, here's a look at your weather.
Chance of rain today and turning colder. High temperature is going to be 47. The rain will change to snow after midnight tonight. Snow flurries in the forecast for tomorrow with a high of only about 39. I'm Joe Case.
Well, I was supposed to be getting on an airplane in about an hour and 5 minutes to go down and join Kathleen in Cuba. Am I still welcome down there?
You're always welcome, Harry, but I don't think you're going to be coming. It was so strange to hear Erin Moriarty reporting from New York on cars in Moscow that she had just seen the other day. When I got in yesterday, I looked all around me and I thought it was Moscow in a Caribbean tropical atmosphere, because if you look down on the streets, you see all of those Ladas. I didn't see any Zills, but you do see all Soviet cars and Soviet Jeeps, so Erin would be surprised that the Lada has made its way to the Western Hemisphere, at least this part.
No Zills, though? No limousines?
No Zills. Haven't seen any limousines. Quite a few 57 Fords and Chevys, though. In our next hour, we are going to get the latest on that earthquake in Armenia from the Red Cross, and we're also going to have reaction from here in Cuba, just finding out about it this morning. Harry?
And also this morning, 2 Soviet journalists. Now they're covering the story that we were just talking about. We'll have more coming up in the next hour.
On Paradise, a random shooting. Amelia's the victim. Is it over for Cord?
I did what I always do. I reached for a gun.
Tonight.
On Knots Landing, Val journeys to San Francisco to check out Jill's alibi. Will she discover Jill's guilt?
I had an affair.
Tonight. Sunday, it's a special night and time when Allie gets married on the season premiere of Kate and Allie.
That's great! Whoa, what a kiss!
Then it's Murphy Brown.
You know Santa Claus?
Yeah, we met in a bar in Morocco.
She's getting kids for Christmas.
We want to go home!
like June Cleaver on acid.
This is CBS.
This is a Channel 5 Good News Break.
Hi, this is Don Welch. The spirit of Christmas is alive and living all year round in Riverfront Park. A permanent Christmas tree has been planted at the foot of Lower Broad Street. It came from Airport Authority property and was saved from the woodsman's axe to plant here. This tree should help light up the lives of Nashvillians not only on Christmas, but throughout the year as well.
This has been a Good News Break from Channel 5.
At Doral Trading Company, we have twice the value at half the price. So if you've been paying more for jewelry than you think you should, check our prices at Doral Trading Company, 4740 Nolensville Road.
I'm Fred Tarkington. Visit our leather gallery for 25 to 45% savings. Free delivery within 50 miles in 5 days. Happy holidays.
Stop. Waller Buick has two great offers. First, get a $250 gift certificate from Casternauts with each new Buick purchase through December 10th. Second, factory rebates plus Waller's year-end discounts will save you thousands of dollars. A $1,250 rebate on this Regal. Add our discount and save up to $3,400. Save up to $4,000 on a new Park Avenue. Factory rebates, huge year-end discounts, and a $250 Christmas gift certificate from Casternauts. Don't sign anything until you've seen Waller Buick.
Here are more great Christmas gift ideas. The perfect popcorn popper, the all-in-one kitchen gadget organizer, and the new convenient stove-top smoker cooker. Affordable gifts at Pots and Pans, etc.
The U.S. Commission on Civil Rights meets in Nashville. A report on midday.
Good morning. I am Kathleen Sullivan in Havana, Cuba.
And I'm Harry Smith in New York. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Kathleen.
Good morning, Harry. An earthquake measuring 6.9 on the Richter scale has devastated a large part of the Soviet Union. Thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of people are dead this morning. Thousands are injured, many homeless. The quake was centered in Armenia, but Azerbaijan, Soviet Georgia, and neighboring Turkey also felt the brunt of that quake. It is so severe that Mikhail Gorbachev has canceled the rest of his trip to the West this morning. He is returning to Moscow, and that includes a scheduled stop here in Cuba that he is no longer going to be making. We're going to have the latest this half hour. Harry?
Also this morning, Mikhail Gorbachev, as we have mentioned, returns to Moscow, then travels to Armenia to see for himself the devastation caused by yesterday's earthquake. In a few minutes, we'll have the latest on the deaths and damage and the international relief effort. Also this morning, we're going to talk with Soviet journalists in this country for the Gorbachev visit. And later, TV and children. We'll get some reaction to a new report that says that relationship isn't as bad as we have thought it to be. Now, Charles Osgood has this morning's news. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, Harry. Good morning again, everybody. Leading our news at this hour, Mikhail Gorbachev cutting short his visit and returning home to deal with a disastrous earthquake. Moscow residents got the shocking news this morning of the quake that struck yesterday with such brutal force in the heart of Soviet Armenia. Heavy quake damage is said to reach into the Soviet republics of Georgia and Azerbaijan, as well as northeastern Turkey. For more on the quake now and the casualties, we go to Jonathan Sanders, who is in Moscow. Jonathan, I guess everybody there in the Soviet capital must be sort of shocked to learn how bad this earthquake was.
Absolutely, Charlie. People saw on Soviet television this video of buildings being destroyed, but reports were slow coming in because communications were so badly disrupted. Official death toll is about 2,000 people, but Soviets are telling me that they expect deaths to run into the tens of thousands and casualties in the hundreds of thousands. One Soviet said, "It's like the Bible. The earth just opened up and it ate a city."
Jonathan, do the people there know yet that Gorbachev is headed back?
Yes, Charlie. There wasn't any news of Gorbachev's return on the morning program before people went to work today, but some heard it on Radio Moscow, and when we were out on the streets today asking about it, people said, that's right, it's the right decision, he should come back. We have this tragedy at home, we need his attention, we need a leader in his place to help us deal with this great tragedy.
Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan Sanders there in Moscow. We have new information this morning about Gorbachev's travel plans. Betsy Aaron is at the Soviet UN mission with a live report. Good morning, Betsy.
There's been a lot of activity here at the Soviet mission this morning. About an hour ago, a rider van came in to pick up some of the heavy luggage. That van is still here. But about 10 minutes ago, there was a small caravan of cars that pulled right out of the driveway, headed up 3rd Avenue on its way to Kennedy Airport. The Gorbachevs are still inside. The plans call for the President Gorbachev and his wife to leave here at 11:15. They will head directly to Kennedy Airport. That's a trip of about a half hour, and then they will take off. That's about it from here.
Thank you, Betsy. At the airport, Kennedy Airport, they have begun loading the Soviet planes for the long flight to Moscow, and Terrence Smith is there. Terrence?
Charles, the Soviet aircraft you see behind me is one of several, apparently, that they are organizing this morning to take the party back on this hurried trip back to Moscow. The expectation is that the planes will leave one after the other, and that Mr. Gorbachev's plane, which is being loaded behind me, will go off sometime in the very late morning, just a little before noon. Obviously, a hurried and abrupt end to a trip because of this natural disaster. Charlie?
Word of Gorbachev's decision to cut short his visit came at a surprise midnight news conference in New York, and Barry Peterson reports.
It was nothing less than a bombshell announcement, even more so coming at the end of one of Mikhail Gorbachev's most successful days. It fell to Foreign Minister Shevardnadze to break the news.
I've been instructed by Mikhail Gorbachev to report to you that the Soviet Transcaucasian republics have suffered an extremely severe earthquake with very grave consequences. For that reason, we have to cut short this visit, and tomorrow we will be returning home.
Officials said the extent of the earthquake damage was not at first apparent, that it seemed Gorbachev could continue his trip to the United States and on to Cuba. But as New York settled into darkness, the hard-hit areas were starting a new day, and a new damage assessment showed many thousands dead. And more, the area has been the scene of months of protest and riots between Christian Armenians and Muslims in nearby Azerbaijan, a trouble spot that Gorbachev, in the end, simply couldn't ignore. Barry Peterson, CBS News, New York.
Gorbachev's decision to return home followed a remarkably successful day on the international stage. For White House reaction to Gorbachev's performance, Jacqueline Adams joins us now from Washington. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, Charlie. White House officials have taken the Soviets at their word about the reasons for Mr. Gorbachev's cutting short his foreign trip. The president was informed of that decision shortly after 11:30 last night. This morning, White House officials are saying that because the three leaders had concluded their business fairly early in the day yesterday, the Kremlin leader's early departure really doesn't affect the very positive, very upbeat assessment of both the president and President-elect of not only their lunchtime chat, but also the Soviet leader's decision to pair his troops. Mr. Reagan will go ahead with his news conference tonight. That news conference was originally timed to steal some of the spotlight away, the media spotlight away from the Gorbachevs. But now officials say, in light of the tragedy in the Soviet Union, Mr. Reagan probably will offer his sympathies to the Soviet people.
What's the feeling there in Washington, Jackie, about the troop reduction announcement and other military reductions that were announced yesterday by Gorbachev?
Well, I think that the troop reduction is seen in large measure as a token. The Soviet forces number over 6 million troops, and the reduction is only about 500,000 spread over 2 years. But the reaction has Mr. Reagan and Mr. Bush have been cautiously optimistic. Mr. Reagan last night called the decision important, significant, if it goes through.
Thank you, Jackie. Jacqueline Adams at the White House. We're following another big story in Southern California this morning. A huge fire is burning out of control in a community about 20 miles from Los Angeles. The fire has already destroyed 20 homes near Baldwin Park, and hundreds of residents have been evacuated. The fire started shortly after midnight in a paper company. And winds of up to 75 miles per hour are still fanning those flames. 2 injuries have been reported. For now, that's it from the news desk. Back again to Harry.
Thanks very much, Charlie. It is Thursday, isn't it, Mark?
Sure is, Harry.
Been Thursday all day today?
Yes, it is, Harry. If it's Thursday, this must be Belgium. Man, that's another movie. Let's talk about the weather right here. It is Thursday, the day before the weekend, and I love it. Clear on the East Coast, as you can see. Clear just about up and down the East Coast. Little scattered clouds. Over my shoulder over here, you can also see some clouds up in the Pacific Northwest. Clear down around California, Nevada, also western portions of Arizona and Utah. Aha! You say, but there's cloud cover down here that we should talk about. Look at all of the clouds that are sitting down in the south. Let's talk about that. Something called Weatherman's Stew. Mother Nature's going to be dishing out a full portion of Weatherman's Stew today across the south. Everything from snow, to thunderstorms will be thrown into the pot with even a sprinkling of sleet and freezing rain. Look at all these symbols right through here. When we have icy written there, we're serious. Also, the sleet and freezing rain is definitely a dangerous ingredient to those of you who have to drive in it today, so please be very careful. The snow, which may pile up to the tune of 3 to 6 inches, will be found across southern Colorado, most of New Mexico, as well as the panhandle of Texas. There's a 3 to 6 inches right there, highlighted very nicely in blue. The sleet, snow, and icy rain should fall across Oklahoma and north central Texas, while rain and thunderstorms will stretch along the Gulf Coast. It's going to be a nasty day. Trust me. 2 words you don't like to hear, but believe them today. Trust me. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Let's take a look at your weather.
Chance of rain today and turning colder. High temperature is going to be 47. The rain will change to snow after midnight tonight. Snow flurries in the forecast for tomorrow with a high of only about 39. I'm Joe Case.
Coming up, we'll have the weather for Friday. Harry?
Thanks, Mark. A disaster on the scale of the Armenian earthquake means a huge international relief effort. And joining us live from Washington this morning is Richard Schubert, who is president of the American Red Cross. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Harry.
The details seem to be sketchy, at least the ones we've been able to get so far. What are you hearing about the destruction and even the casualty levels of the earthquake?
About the same as you've reported, but I have been in touch this morning with some of my counterparts in the Soviet Red Cross and also with the League of Red Cross Society operations in Geneva. The first and critical need was for blood. That is being fulfilled from within the Soviet Union by the Soviet Red Cross mobile team drawing operations. They also have airlifted in about 15 tons of blankets, tents, first aid kits. Armenia at this point in the year is pretty cold, and so there is a critical need for emergency shelter. There's also going to be a need for antibiotics. I talked to the Chief of External Relations of the Soviet Red Cross. We have agreed that just as soon as an assessment is made, we will begin to supply their needs as we have the ability to do. We are already sending off $50,000 from our funds, our internal funds, so that there can be support for the Soviet Red Cross effort.
Did they ask you for a kind of help in particular?
The Chief of External Relations, my counterpart, the head of the Soviet Red Cross, Dr. Venediktov, is on the scene. So I talked to the number 2 person, and he said that the initial assessment is that they're going to need a lot of antibiotics, usable syringes, etc., but that they're putting together the list of what they're going to need, and then they'll work through the League and work through us and other national societies to get those needs met.
What is the relationship of the American Red Cross with the Soviet Red Cross? Is it good? Do you work well together?
Interesting development over the last couple of years. There's been a total change in attitude and leadership in the Soviet Red Cross. My counterpart, the president of the Soviet Red Cross, is a medical doctor by background who's been deeply involved in WHO activities. He speaks English fluently. He is dynamic. From a distance, he could be mistaken for Gorbachev, about the same height and size, remarkably capable and effective person. And quietly, we have gotten to know him well and have been working on a couple of projects internationally together.
Would the Soviet Red Cross, under normal circumstances, have the wherewithal, have the resources it needs to respond to a situation like this?
It's clear that it's a very sophisticated operation. They have a lot of volunteer support. They have a major supply operation. We have, I have not personally visited the Soviet Red Cross yet, but some of my associates have, and some of Dr. Venediktov's associates have visited the American Red Cross, in fact, in May of this year. It's clear it's a sophisticated operation, but it's also clear that this is an incredible disaster. It looks, on what I've seen and what I understand, to be something of the magnitude of Mexico City, or perhaps beyond that, and that would tax the resources of any society, including the Soviet Red Cross.
Do you have any plans right offhand to send any people there?
We will respond to their needs. As you can imagine, this is a sensitive situation in that they want to fill as many of their needs as they possibly can, as we would if this earthquake had occurred in Southern California or the Missouri Fault or whatever. But we have such a relationship that we will respond to their needs as they've indicated. interesting contrast. When Chernobyl occurred, we offered help and assistance and very little receptivity at that point. Very different climate today.
Richard Schubert from the American Red Cross, we thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Do appreciate it. It was the strongest earthquake to hit Armenia in 80 years, 6.9 on the American Richter scale. No one yet knows the exact number of people killed yesterday, but estimates run into the tens of thousands. Even before the quake, Mikhail Gorbachev had trouble in Armenia, though. Conflicts between the Christian Armenians and the Muslims of neighboring Azerbaijan. With us from Los Angeles this morning is Richard Hovhannissian, a professor of Armenian and Near East history at UCLA. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It is more than strangely ironic, is it not, that a situation that Mikhail Gorbachev seemed to be trying to get away from in some sense would in fact a part of the world that he was trying to get away from, at least perhaps metaphorically, is one that's drawing him back there today.
Indeed it is, and it's interesting that for the Armenians it's particularly tragic because they have two kinds of refugees today. Those who are the refugees of the earthquake, the natural calamity, and second, the refugees who are fleeing from the neighboring Republic of Azerbaijan. So the tragedy for the Armenian people has been compounded, and in a sense for Gorbachev it is a means for him to return now as the leader of the Soviet Union to show his concern for the peoples of the Caucasus and specifically the people of Armenia who have been somewhat alienated, largely alienated, both from him and from Moscow in the last few months because of the unwillingness of Moscow to move on some of the requests and demands of the Armenian people.
What can he do there? What in your mind anyway, would be the best scenario?
I think what he's going to be doing is to showing that he is the great compassionate leader, to show that he has taken a very personal interest in the fate of the Armenian people, to promise them assistance in rebuilding, to emphasize the fact, probably without stating it, that the small country of Armenia probably is in a better shape by being a partner in the large USSR, and at the same time to try to ameliorate the sentiments of the Armenians and probably the Azerbaijanis. It's a mission of goodwill that he will be on there after these several months of extreme tension.
Let's talk about the tension for a little bit, because even in the last couple of months, dozens of people have died in the fighting there. And some people theorize that one of the reasons Mikhail Gorbachev was coming to the United States was to leave some of his domestic problems behind. How intense has the fighting been there, and how much of a trouble spot is it for him?
Well, it is a serious trouble spot, and although the pressures and ethnic conflicts have been under wraps in a sense for several decades, nonetheless they've been there and they've percolated up to the surface now. Starting in February, the Armenians of the neighboring district right next to Armenia, of Nagorno-Karabakh, mountainous Karabakh, were overwhelmingly Armenian and artificially separated from Armenia by Stalin and awarded to Azerbaijan, have been agitating for the return to Armenia, claiming that they are second-class citizens and have not that the cultural institutions are being suppressed, etc. And the spirit of glasnost, perestroika, gave the Armenians the belief that this was the time to move. That, however, has not resulted in any immediate favorable response. So the response from the Azerbaijani side, however, when the Armenians began to assert these claims, was a pogrom, was a massacre in the city of Sumgait. The first trial in Moscow of the murderers there resulted in the death penalty, the response of which in Azerbaijan once again was massive demonstrations and then more violence against the Armenians. There are about more than 500,000 Armenians living in Azerbaijan, a country of some 8 million people. So they're a significant minority, and in many areas they are now fleeing the area. So we have the double tragedy of earthquake and of nature and humankind, both that have compounded the Armenian trouble today.
Richard Hovhannissian, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
17 past the hour.
You change the color, you change the fabric. The low price stays the same. American Sofa has your new living room or family room at prices from just $3.99. We'll build it the way you want and have it ready in 15 working days. Best of all, you'll love it or we'll pick it up. Too soft, too hard, too big, or too small, we'll pick it up. Just jump on the 515 Express. Now with a deal like that, how could you possibly buy new furniture without shopping American Sofa? Hickory Hollow and Riverdale.
Picture yourself in one of these magnificent furs. You could spend a lifetime dreaming about it, or you can make that dream come true. Now at Burlington Coat Factory. Burlington sells magnificent furs like those you see at the finest furriers, but at far lower prices. And there's a great selection of furs on sale. Right now, Burlington has a special sale price of only $17.89 on this magnificent let-out mink coat. The fur you've been dreaming about costs less at Burlington Coat Factory.
More bad news? Piggly Wiggly again. Penny pinchers? Penny pinchers. Same deal? For every $5 you spend at Piggly Wiggly, you get a free penny pincher. So, the more you shop, the more you save. Right. Like Miracle Whip salad dressing is only 99 cents with 6 penny pinchers. That's bad. Gets worse. Gold Medal flour is only 58 cents with 6 penny pinchers. That's real bad. Penny pinchers, Piggly Wiggly. That's all I ever hear.
Piggly Wiggly's here again.
First, Gillette made shaving closer, then we made it smoother. With Atra Plus, its Luber Smooth Strip glides the razor over your face for Gillette's smoothest shave. The Atra Plus system. First we made it closer, then we made it smoother.
When I dance, it's a real workout for my hair. That's why I always use White Rain Hairspray. For all the hold of the fancy brands, without the fancy price.
White Rain Hairspray. Beautiful hold at a beautiful price.
Cuba, of course, was preparing for Mikhail Gorbachev's visit beginning tomorrow, and that visit, along with a stop in London, has now been called off. The Soviets say that this stop will be rescheduled, but the Gorbachev visit here was partly to mark the 30th anniversary of the revolution that brought Fidel Castro to power and brought communism here. CBS correspondent David Dow's been out on the streets this morning getting the reaction to the change of plans, and there must be great disappointment.
Well, there is, Kathleen. This was to have been the first visit by a Soviet leader in almost 15 years, and though Fidel Castro and Gorbachev have had their differences at times, publicly a warm show of solidarity was expected here. The Cubans' first public statements early this morning mirrored that.
Nuestra reacción ha sido de comprensión.
Our reaction has been of understanding
ante la tragedia que en estos momentos afronta el pueblo soviético.
Before the Soviet people tragedy.
Many Cubans learned of the cancellation of Gorbachev's visit by radio just before they left for work this morning. It's bad news. We were waiting for him, said this man. We were waiting with open arms, he says.
Para nosotros.
They've helped us a lot, and we have lots to be thankful for. Above all else, Cubans understand that, whatever their feelings about Gorbachev or their country's close ties to the Soviet Union. The Soviets, with their giant embassy here, remain a $5 billion yearly benefactor for Cuba, the rich uncle that funds the revolution's building projects and large army. Fidel Castro may quibble with Gorbachev over perestroika, but he planned his biggest greeting for him. 500,000 people were expected to line these streets. Tomorrow was to have been a holiday. And even though it was the middle of the night when the visit was canceled, a Soviet spokesman went before reporters to express regrets.
Because it is Cuba, because it is a country and the people very close to us.
The question now is if and when the visit to Cuba could be rescheduled. This morning, a Soviet spokesman said that's entirely possible. He noted that Gorbachev has expressed an interest and intention in principle to visit Latin America sometime in the future. Kathleen?
Dave, it's your first trip here, my first trip here. Are you surprised to see that the Soviet presence is not just philosophical, but very physical?
Well, it's very physical as you look out on the skyline here. Obviously, a lot of the cranes, a lot of the construction projects you see here wouldn't be possible were it not for a $5 billion a year infusion.
Courtesy of Mikhail Gorbachev. Yes. That's right. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
More from Havana coming up in the next half hour.
Mark Branch was obsessed with horror movies, living on a steady diet of violence and gore, driving him, police say, to kill Sharon Gregory and to take his own life. Now, a TV exclusive, Sharon's parents share their pain.
Those movies like Friday the 13th and all that, those are supposed to be fiction, not fact. In our house, it's fact.
Today on A Current Affair at 4 o'clock on Channel 5.
Eternity. Tell me, who were you before this room? Before us? Before now?
I've forgotten. Nothing seems real beyond this bed. Have I known you forever?
Careful. This is only the beginning. We haven't hurt each other yet, but we soon will.
I love you.
Eternity.
Calvin Klein.
Exclusively
at Kastner
Knott.
First, Gillette made shaving closer. Then we made it smoother. With Atra Plus, its Luber Smooth Strip glides the razor over your face for Gillette's smoothest shave. The Atra Plus system. First we made it closer, then we made it smoother.
Seems like Mandrells have been using White Rain shampoo and conditioner forever.
The White Rain family of hair care.
There'll never be another for me.
Beautiful hair at a beautiful price.
Mommy, I don't feel good. Oh, I know, honey. Let's see if you have a fever.
That last box did me in.
I told you it was too heavy. Look, honey.
But we don't even have a baby.
Well, that's about to change. Are you still having those pains in your hands?
Yeah, real bad today.
Now, will you see a doctor?
For those times when you need a caring professional, call CareFinders, a free physician referral service of Baptist Hospital. Call 329-MD-4U.
From Channel 5, this is an Eyewitness News update.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brenda Blackman. There's cold and moisture moving our way. Joe Case is here to tell us what that's going to translate into.
Yeah, I like the way you didn't go quite out on the limb there when you say cold and moisture. Yes, indeed, those are the ingredients for what's going to happen after midnight tonight. Clouds are rolling in. Under these clouds, there are a few little showers here and there, as we can see on Color Scan 500 down over southwest Middle Tennessee. Some in all this ground clutter around our area, but for the most part, cloudy skies outside right now. We are expecting cloudy skies to remain today. Breezy with rain, high of 47. It's 42 now. After midnight, the moisture should change to snow. No reports or forecasts on accumulation as of right now. Stay tuned. Brenda?
We will. Thanks, Joe. We have two accidents to report for you at this hour. They are at Capers Avenue between 24th Avenue and 25th Avenue South, and at I-440 East and I-24 just before the split. And traffic is back to normal on I-65 South near the Dickerson Road exit. An accident there this morning sent 2 people to the hospital and blocked the road for almost 2 hours. The tie-up occurred around 2 o'clock when 2 tractor trailers collided and were run into by a third. All traffic had to be stopped so that the wreckage could be cleared up. At one point, more than 60 tractor trailers were standing in line waiting for traffic to start up again. 2 drivers were injured and taken to Memorial Hospital. In other news, police are still looking for a suspect in the attempted kidnapping of the wife of millionaire businessman Phil Bredesen. 47-year-old Andrea Conte was parking her car yesterday morning when a man with a gun forced her into a white Lincoln Town car. Conte resisted and was beaten, but still managed to escape through an unlocked door. Her husband says she suffered a broken hand, a broken cheekbone, and cuts to her head. But a report identifying the cause of a plane crash that killed 256 Fort Campbell soldiers does not bring an end to that controversy. In that report, which will be released later today, the Canadian government concludes that ice on the wings is to blame for the crash. But some investigators strongly disagree with the findings and say a technical malfunction on the jet is to blame. We'll be back with more right after this.
Shop the all-new Madison Square this Christmas. For the finest in men's and women's famous shoes at affordable discount prices, check the value and quality at Lottie's Shoes. Enter to win a free pair of shoes this Christmas at Lottie's. Visit Madison Music this Christmas for a huge selection of electric and acoustic guitars, keyboards, and latest recording equipment from basic home 4-tracks to professional 16-tracks, all at Madison Music. Celebrate Madison Square's grand reopening with the Christmas Wish giveaway.
3 prisoners are back behind bars this morning after yesterday's escape from the Davidson County workhouse. Police captured accused murderer Kenneth Netherton at a relative's house in the James Casey Homes in East Nashville only a few hours after the escape. The men who escaped with him are Nathaniel Harrison, charged with robbery, and Tony McCarroll, charged with burglary. All 3 were being held at the workhouse pending trial. And finally, some good news for stroke victims. A group of Knoxville inventors have developed a wheelchair device that may help some stroke victims climb out of their chairs. Some 20 students at Pellissippi State Technical Community College developed the lever device that allows a stroke victim who has lost the use of one side to move the footrest away so they can stand on their good side. Instructor Chet Thornton says the invention is not a profit-motivated thing, and that's why they wanted to work with the handicapped. That's our news for now. Have a good rest of the day.
You know it makes you wanna pick your pins up and play a game now and yeah, it's time now to come on now, most fun that you ever saw. Come on now and play, we'll lose or draw. Play along. It's fast all fun. Play along. Come on, come on, come on and play, yeah. Come on and play, yeah. Come on and play, yeah.
Weekdays at 4:30. Shop the all-new Madison Square this Christmas. Everyone needs insurance. Be protected by the Shield of Shelter. Call Bonnie Hall for life, health, home, auto, farm, or business. It's a matter of personal pride with Bonnie Hall. Heritage Art Gallery features quality custom framing, ready-made frames, frame prints, and oil paintings. Enter to win this beautiful Michael Sloan frame print at Heritage Art Gallery. Celebrate Madison Square's grand reopening with the Christmas Wish giveaway.
A delicious dessert recipe that's a piece of cake today at 11.
Welcome back to CBS This Morning. I'm Harry Smith in New York.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan in Havana, Cuba.
Soviet leader Gorbachev's decision to return home came late last night. Apparently, Gorbachev only learned of the tremendous damage in Armenia late in the day from television reports. A little later on in this half hour, we're going to talk to some Soviet journalists about how they're reporting the story. Also this morning, a new controversy brewing over kids and television. Kathleen?
Harry, tomorrow was supposed to be a holiday of sorts here in Havana. The big welcome for Mikhail Gorbachev. Well, now as we know, that's not going to happen. We're going to get reaction to that decision by the Soviets, how the Cubans see it, and also some observations about Cuba itself from an American who spends an awful lot of time living here. Now the news back in New York. Here's Faith Daniels. Faith?
Kathleen, at the top of the news, the disastrous earthquake in the Soviet Union that is forcing Mikhail Gorbachev to cut short his visit in the U.S. and cancel planned stops in Cuba and Britain. The quake, centered in Soviet Armenia, struck yesterday with devastating force. One town of 16,000 people was leveled. Many buildings in larger cities suffered heavy damage. The official death toll is 2,000. But one report quotes an Armenian church leader as saying 80,000 people are dead and 3.5 million homeless. Gorbachev spent the night at the Soviet UN mission in Manhattan, and Betsy Aaron is standing by there now with the latest on his departure plans. Betsy?
Good morning, Faith. A spokesman from the Soviet mission just came out, and he told us that President Gorbachev is quite upset. He's been up most of the night getting reports from Yerevan on just how bad the damage is and what the death toll is. This morning there was a lot of activity here at the mission. Starting about 2 hours ago, they moved a bunch of cars in and they started loading up with suitcases and television sets and all the paraphernalia that they came in with for this visit. The first trucks and cars went out to the airport about a half hour ago. What the plans call for is a departure from here at 10:15 by the first group of diplomats. The second group with President Gorbachev will leave at 11:15. Out at the airport, we have word that the planes are maneuvering, getting into position, getting ready to leave. Those planes will take off at 12:30, which proves that if you are the president of a country and you have Secret Service protection and police protection, you can make it from Midtown Manhattan to JFK, a trip that normally takes an hour to 2 hours, in about a half hour. And they will be off to the Soviet Union at 12:30.
Thank you very much, Betsy Aaron at the UN Soviet mission. The NATO foreign ministers today followed the lead set by Gorbachev in his UN speech yesterday. NATO proposes drastic cuts in the number of tanks held in Europe by both NATO and the Warsaw Pact. Earlier, Harry discussed Gorbachev's proposal with Soviet spokesman Gennady Gerasimov and with Henry Kissinger. Gerasimov explained the thinking behind a cut in Soviet military forces.
We declared that we have this defensive strategy now, and we must now show in practical terms what we mean. Also, we are talking now about sufficiency. How much is enough?
Problem really is a lot now on the Western side. When they talk from shifting from an offensive to a defensive posture, the fact is nobody really knows what the difference is precisely. And so we are negotiating with ourselves to an important extent. And these are some of the things that need to be clarified.
Kissinger also said that Gorbachev has caught the United States between administrations when it's in no position to respond to Soviet proposals. And we are also following another big story this morning, this one out of Southern California. Hurricane-force winds are fanning a huge fire that's burning through a community about 20 miles from Los Angeles. The fire has gutted 20 homes near Baldwin Park, and hundreds of residents have been forced to evacuate. The fire broke out at a paper company just after midnight. 2 people have been injured there. That's the latest on all the news. Here again is Harry.
Thanks very much, Faith. I want to get our Thursday forecast this morning now from Mark McEwen. Mark.
Now, Harry, you're just not going to let me forget that, are you?
What day is it today?
I said Wednesday for all the people checking in late. A couple of birthdays today. Sammy Davis Jr. is 63. Actor-comedian Flip Wilson, the devil made me do it. He's 55, remember that? Actress Kim Basinger is 35. And Kim, if you're watching, you look marvelous. I just want to tell you that. Happy birthday to everybody out there. Okay, as we can see today, a lot of weathermen stew down through here. These little symbols right here are icy symbols. That's what those little curly cues are there. What that means is take your time today if you're going to be going to work. In the southern portion of the country, you got rain stretching just about all the way down through the southern tier from, let's say, the Carolinas all the way across to Texas, even New Mexico. Snow in the upper elevations, especially in the panhandle of Texas, are going to see some of the rain changing to icy conditions on the road. Some of the rain is going to be changing to snowy conditions on the road. So either way, bad weather. Now, tomorrow's weather picture isn't all that clear. I don't mean in regard to the sky conditions. It's a bit iffy concerning this snow that we're showing right here in the northeast. We almost left it out of the forecast, and the reason is one of our computers is going wild and generating precipitation across the region, so we put it in there, but again, it is iffy. Time will tell. We're quite certain, though, that the southeast will get some rain, that even though the area of coverage will be decreasing, New Mexico and western Texas will receive some more rain and snow. Finally, an Alberta clipper will be spreading an area of snow which should reach the Dakotas by evening. That's why we have the flakes up there. This is going to be a cold start to what promises to be a very cold weekend. That's a quick look at the national forecast and a birthday or two. Let's take a look at your weather.
Chance of rain today and turning colder. High temperature is going to be 47. The rain will change to snow after midnight tonight. Snow flurries in the forecast for tomorrow with a high of only about 39. I'm Joe Case.
Happy Thursday to you, Harry. Back to you.
Thanks, Mark. 24 minutes before the hour. Next, kids and TV. The controversy continues. And still ahead, more from Cuba, where not everything has changed.
I was practicing my hook shot when she walked in.
Looks like we're working together.
Brains, talent, she had everything.
This story's hot.
Including bad breath.
Something wrong?
I moved to the right, the left. There was no escape.
Excuse me.
Somebody like her.
How could I forget Scoop? Bad breath germs, goodbye. Wow, I'll show him.
Oh no, not again.
Hi.
Her breath.
I figured it out.
Right. For a positive reaction, the power of Scope. Now that we cleared the air, we could finally get down to business.
There's only one place you'll find the all-cotton Color-Mate bath towel. It's thick, thirsty, and baby soft. Comes in these great colors for only $3.99. And there's more during our wonderful white sale, only at Sears.
When Mom gets a cough and cold, everyone suffers.
Mom, Dad's ironing.
Time to doctor that cough with Robitussin.
Look, Mom's feeling better. Uh-oh.
Robitussin, recommended by more doctors, pharmacists, and Dr. Mom.
This morning's health segment is sponsored by Dristan Nasal Sprays for relief right on the nose.
It's a common assumption that too much TV is bad for children. Many people think it hurts their attention spans and even slows down reading. But a new report by the Department of Education challenges all of that. Dr. Robert Mendelson is the chairman of the Committee on Communications of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and he joins us this morning from Portland, Oregon, to talk a little bit about this. Headlines came out yesterday, and we've seen some news reports about this, and it sounded almost as if everything we guessed about TV and kids was wrong. You had a chance to look over the report. What's your assessment?
Well, I think that the report, which is no original research on its own, is a compilation of a lot of studies that have been done on children and television. And if you read the body of the report rather than just the summary, you get the idea that we still don't know all the answers by any means. We as pediatricians are obviously concerned about the health issues having to do with children and television, and we still have significant concerns about children watching too much television and perhaps watching too much of the wrong kinds of television.
One of the things that was in the report seemed to indicate that it was okay for you to let your children do their homework while they were watching television, for instance, which seems to be one of the, I can hear my mother saying even now, that was something you couldn't get away with.
I think that's right, and I think that anyone that has watched children, particularly preteens and teenagers, doing their homework in front of television realizes that the difference is the quality of the work that they have to turn out. At least with our children, and I've had 4 teenagers at the same time at my house. They're now all older, but at that time we knew that if they were going for something heavy like a major report or research, they didn't do it in front of the television set. But a lot of the routine things they did either listening to their music or doing it in front of TV, and it didn't seem to hurt them a great deal. The study indicates, however, if you read into the depth of the study, that it certainly doesn't do them any good to sit and watch something that's distracting while they're doing their homework.
Are reading skills diminished because kids watch too much television?
I think most of us feel that the reason that reading skills might be diminished is because children aren't reading when they're watching television in the vast majority of cases. Reading, like many other skills, is a skill that gets better with practice. The more you practice reading, the more you read, the better you're going to read, and the more you're going to enjoy reading. And my concern personally, and our concern, is that when children are watching television, they aren't reading, and we think reading is one of the major skills that children should acquire. I think from that point of view, there are some problems. Now, some of the educational television programs that encourage children to read and even teach preschool children to read, they have exactly the opposite effect, and they certainly do increase the rate at which children learn to read.
Can kids watch too much television, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. The American Academy of Pediatrics came out with a PSA within the last couple of months entitled The Couch Potato, and you can imagine what that was about. That's gotten a lot of play around the country. And also we've come out with a policy statement regarding adolescence and rock video and watching that. And our main concern there is not only the time spent watching, but also the content. And our major thrust in pediatrics is the same as it always has been, and that is we're trying to encourage the parents to be aware of what their children are watching and how much their children are watching, and let the parents make the decision about whether that's appropriate for their children.
Trust their instincts a little bit. Dr. Robert Mendelson, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, Harry.
Right.
Thanks for asking me.
19 minutes before the hour, we'll be back with more from Kathleen in Cuba.
Everyone knows Dristan nasal spray starts to work fast, but just how fast?
Faster than Dolly can pick up a $5 tip.
Faster than a politician can shake hands.
Now, Dristan nasal spray has a new spray pump. Dristan works fast to relieve nasal congestion, stuffiness, even sinus pressure. So, if you want relief...
Faster than a frog on a hot rock.
Try regular or long-lasting Dristan nasal spray. It's faster than...
Norelco's new coffee makers do more than make coffee. They bring out the best in your coffee. All new coffee makers with System 190, balancing time, pressure, and just the right temperature to bring out all the aroma and richness you look for in every cup. Norelco coffee makers bring out the best in your coffee.
On the horizon, there's something so stirring it will send you in a whole new direction. Tropicana Twister. 6 refreshing fruit flavor combinations that will surprise your tongue and splash you with flavor. Like orange, strawberry, banana. Here it comes. Tropicana Twister. The taste will blow your thirst away.
Oh, look at me back in the 60s, working up a sweat. Oh, and that's how I used to pump iron. Not today. Today we're exercising more and eating less red meat. But red meat is a great source of iron.
Only Kellogg's Bran Flakes has high fiber and 100% of the iron recommended today.
So now I pump a little iron outside and inside. You know, I haven't felt this good since I burned that bathing suit.
Kellogg's Bran Flakes.
Next week on CBS This Morning, Peter Allen. Also next week, Marlo Thomas. Plus, Beauty and the Beast's Ron Perlman.
Fidel Castro's Cuba receives $5 billion a year in countless goods from the Soviet Union. However, one thing Castro does not want to import is perestroika. But despite the clear differences between their leaders and the Soviets, Cuba was preparing an enthusiastic welcome for the Soviet leader. Sandra Levinson is an American who's been coming to Cuba on and off for the past 19 years in New York. She's the director of the Center for Cuban Studies, and she joins us this morning. Good morning.
Hi.
Coming and going for 19 years, what keeps you coming back?
Well, in part my job. As the director of the Center for Cuban Studies, I have to be here.
Was your job in reaction to the fact that you liked this place?
Yes.
Years ago.
Yes, it was very interesting to me. It was fascinating. I was a professor of political science and the New York editor of Ramparts magazine when I first came to Cuba.
After the revolution?
Yes, in '69.
A lot of Americans have actually stayed here since the revolution?
Yes, I think a lot of Americans came in the first few years, 59, 60, 61, in the flush of revolutionary fervor. And in fact, there are quite a few who are still here, doing very interesting things, and especially a lot of church people.
Do you think that the Cubans, after 30 years, are disenchanted with the revolution?
I don't think the Cubans are disenchanted with the revolution. I think they are, first of all, it's hard to talk about the Cubans, right? I mean, some Cubans are disenchanted with the revolution. Some Cubans are still just as hot on the revolution as ever.
Well, does it depend on how old they are? If they didn't see the revolution, if they're under the age of 25, they don't know what happened before, so they have no historical understanding.
I think that's true. I think there are a lot of young people who simply cannot appreciate, from the point of view of the older Cubans, what the revolution has given them. They take for granted free healthcare, free education, free this, free that, and they want other things.
Like coffee. Coffee is rationed.
Coffee, blue jeans, whatever. There aren't many things that are still rationed, though, but yes, coffee is definitely one of them.
Is there a desire for the creature comforts here?
Sure, I think there is everywhere.
But to what point?
I think not to the point that they would destroy the revolution for the creature comforts, if we're talking, you know, the average Cuban. I think to the point that they definitely want an improvement in the economy, no doubt about it. Everyone knows that the economy is in rough shape here. That's no news to anybody, right? And I think all of the Cubans are fighting to make the economy better. It's very difficult when there are no relations with the United States. That continues to be a real thorn in the side of the Cuban government.
Is America still thought of as the enemy?
I don't think America is thought of as the enemy. And I think if you've been here, even if you've only been here for a day or two, you can see that Cubans like Americans. Right, they like Americans.
How about the country itself?
The Cubans do this game, you know. The people are good, the leaders are bad. And to a great extent, the United States is still thought of as the enemy, although as almost an affectionate enemy. You know, an enemy that we would like to have relations with. You know, there are enemies you don't want to have relations with, like South Africa.
And they'd like to have American dollars.
Absolutely.
It really surprised me, the fact that yesterday at the airport, when I asked, you know, I felt that I had to exchange money in front of the policia. And when I asked him, do I need money, pesos, for the cab, he said, no, use dollars. They want you to use dollars, and they'll even change a $20 bill into 5, 10, and 5
Absolutely, absolutely. That's true. They desperately need dollars, as any economy does that's in rough shape.
So do they want America back in their lives?
I think so. I think, but not under any conditions. You know, they definitely want the United States back in their lives. I think they feel, as I said, a lot of affection, a lot of closeness. But they want their sovereignty, and they should have it.
Sandra, if they had a choice between the Soviet Union and the United States, who would they take?
Ooh. I think they would not make that choice. I think they would definitely take the Soviet Union at this point because that's their experience of the past 30 years. But I don't think they have to make that choice. I think they can have both.
Sandra Levinson, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back after this.
This Day in Hollywood brought to you by Taster's Choice Coffee.
The making of freeze-dried Taster's Choice Coffee. Search the world for the finest coffee beans. Grind them. And at the peak of freshness, brew the richest, most aromatic coffee you can brew. Then freeze it. Freeze-drying locks in the fresh brewed aroma and flavor until you release it. For a truly superior cup of coffee, the choice for taste is Taster's Choice.
Taste it.
December 8th, 1963, Frank Sinatra Jr. is kidnapped, then freed 3 days later after his father answered the abductor's demands with $240,000 in used money. Incredibly, rumors persisted that it was all a hoax, even after the culprits were caught, tried, and sentenced for life.
That's it? That's all? You gotta be kidding.
You're done. Sure? If you thought dental cleanings were easy with Tartar Control Crest,
Can't believe it.
they just got easier. Well, that was fast. Introducing new and improved Tartar Control Crest.
You're all done? No.
The new tartar fighting formula that can actually help stop tartar before it starts. Piece of cake. Tartar Control Crest, the dentist's choice, is now harder on tartar and easier on you. Thank you very much.
I was waiting for the new hairdresser.
Sorry I'm late, love.
This must be him.
How are we today?
And that's his breath.
You'll have to sit still.
Oh, please.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Please don't take chances. Take the power of scope.
Introducing the only lotion that keeps you Calgon soft after your bath. New Calgon After Bath Lotion for silky, soft skin all day. New Calgon After Bath Lotion makes Calgon softness last all day.
A lot of news, of course, this morning. Mikhail Gorbachev is heading back to the Soviet Union because of the earthquakes in Armenia. And he, of course, was supposed to be jetting off to Cuba tomorrow. And to talk about it with us this morning is Pam Falk, who is a professor over at Columbia University and is a specialist in Cuba, and Robert Krulwich,
who wanted to go to Cuba.
And Kathleen Sullivan, who is in Cuba this morning. And one of the things that was talked about or sort of guessed about was the notion that Mikhail Gorbachev might in fact be a bridge builder of sorts between the United States and Cuba. Now that this visit isn't going to happen, what happens to that notion? What happens to that scenario?
At this point, that scenario is suspended. But Cuba will have an interest and the Soviet Union will have an interest in putting it back on the agenda. And since Cuba's anniversary, 30th anniversary, is coming up in 3 weeks, it is likely that that would be the appropriate time for a trip.
You have spent a lot of time down there. I'm curious for Kathleen, who's just sort of exploded in there in the last 24 hours or so, about what sort of impressions and notions and things she might be curious about. I'm not sure if she can hear us now or not. Kath? I guess not. We have gone through literal hoops to get hooked up with Cuba, and we asked them if we could go in there a couple of weeks ago already, and in the last 24 hours or so, they said, okay, sure.
Come in.
So we went down there with our own satellite equipment and everything else, and so just in the last couple of minutes, we've had some problems. What are you wanted to go? What were you curious about?
I wondered how it's different. I mean, how do you know when you wander up and down the streets of Havana that you're not in, Santo Domingo or in Caracas? How is it different?
The view is very different. Cuba is very Caribbean and very Western, but now you see Soviet Ladas instead of 1950 Chevys, and you don't see commercial advertising on billboards. You see Marx and Lenin and a lot of Fidel Castro, and what you see is no stores,
No stores?
No stores.
What
It's
do you
a
mean,
very
no?
different view. You see little rationing. They don't have store fronts. There are places where you can go and buy your rationed goods, 1 ounce of coffee per week. But
So no display windows with lots
no
of
display
shoes?
windows with lots of shoes. And there are little stores where you can turn in your jewelry or your family candelabra. Or
Now, wait a second. There are no places, for instance, when I need to buy my socks, I can't, there's not a little store there that says Fidel's Menswear or whatever?
There are small
You go to
stores that
Fidel,
if you
I
have a
know.
lot of foreign dollars, a lot of currency, you can go in. But they're very short supply. So you might be able to wait a few weeks and get that pair of socks.
Right. So there are ration places like that, no kinds of regular stores.
Can you go out to restaurants whenever you want? Or?
You have to make a reservation several weeks in advance, and there are very long lines.
So there's no like drop in and have a bite
No
restaurant?
drop in, have a bite restaurant.
What about the anti-fatness campaign? Could the two be related? I understand there's an anti-fatness campaign.
Castro started an anti-fatness campaign last year and an anti-smoking campaign, and he stopped smoking cigars.
And he stops. Well, that is significant. Kathleen is back with us live. You can hear us now?
I'm sorry, Harry. Yeah, I just lost you for a second.
Okay. We've just been talking about what it's like to actually be in Cuba and what you see and don't see, and Pam was talking about stores or actually lack of stores and currency and whatnot.
Pam spent a lot more, I mean, I'm not going to say Pam spent a lot more time than I have. Harry, you know I've only been here for 24 hours.
Just give us some...
But when I compare this against some other countries, I mean, I am surprised at the mobility that we have as tourists. It's not like the Soviet Union in which you are watched and you are followed, and there isn't a great presence of a big brother here. And there is something that is really special about this place, and it's a fever and a life that is all of what the samba is about and all the Latin beat that you do feel very much coming about. And it's not going to be put down by any dogma or any strict philosophy of communism. These people love to live, and you really do feel that.
How do you, where do you feel that? People aren't dancing literally, so how do you get this feeling?
You know, it's somewhat of a little bit of, it's an inner joy. I mean, it's a specialty about life and kind of a drive that you already see from some of the Cubans that we've talked to, a passionate love for, yes, we have a revolution and we're going to fix this and we're going to try as hard as we can, but let us try and please respect us.
I hope the news team is able to go to the Tropicana, because that's where Kathleen will be able to see that. It's very active and very salsa.
All right. It is just about 4 minutes before the hour. We'll be back.
Very naked.
Remember when we said that stuff about for richer, for poorer?
I do.
Well, then how come your coffee looks darker than mine?
Mine's decaffeinated Folgers Crystals. Yours is the decaffeinated you always drink.
Did you use the same amount?
Sure. These dark, sparkling crystals are made from Folgers mountain-grown beans.
Mmm, really rich.
Sip. Love it?
I do.
You do?
I do.
You're crazy about me.
I am.
Trust me.
Decaffeinated Folgers Crystals. So dark and rich. Shouldn't you switch?
There's nothing like a bowl of Campbell's soup.
My treat?
To warm things up.
That's what Campbell's soups are. Ooh, good.
Where can you find creamy, soft robes trimmed with lace and embroidery? Robes that zip or wrap, all just $27.99. Find these and more now, only at Sears.
On CBS This Morning, here's a look at your weather.
Chance of rain today and turning colder. High temperature is going to be 47. The rain will change to snow after midnight tonight. Snow flurries in the forecast for tomorrow with a high of only about 39. I'm Joe Case.
General Secretary Gorbachev, of course, is heading back to the Soviet Union, trying to pay as much attention as possible to the earthquake in Armenia, and we'll have much more on that tomorrow. And Kathleen, you're going to stay in Cuba for a while?
Well, even though the General Secretary isn't going to be coming here tomorrow, we're going to stay and we're going to show you some of the reasons why Fidel Castro wants you. He wants your American dollars here, and if you're a tourist, we're going to show you what it's like.
We'll have that tomorrow from Cuba. We hope you'll join us. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Assignment Gorbachev. The Soviet president and his wife take in the sights and sounds of New York City as our CBS News coverage continues tonight on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
We all have things we wish we'd done.
He's a full-time freshman.
I'm here to try out for the team.
So what does he have to prove?
You're 53, Mike. You can get killed out there.
And I'm just not sure where I fit in anymore.
30 years of a lot of sweat, so you people can turn on me.
Robert Conrad and Jennifer O'Neill star in Glory Days, Sunday at 9.
Saturday, it's the Eagles against the Cardinals. Two teams whose playoff hopes can't afford a mistake. Saturday on CBS Sports.
This is CBS.
There's a whole lot of toys for a whole lot less. At Walmart Toyland, you'll find the best.
I've got to save on toys. With 4 kids, I don't know what we do without Walmart.
Walmart has the best prices on the toys your kids want, like Parker Brothers Monopoly, only $8.97. And Videotex Talking WizKid is just $56.76 every day.
Walmart, you've made my holiday.
Walmart Toyland, a whole lot of toys for a whole lot less.
The law offices of Williams & Miller, a good firm to have on your side if you've been hurt in an accident.
We take the mystery out of seeing a lawyer. The Williams & Miller policy with accident claims is simple. You can see us for free, and we're not paid unless we win your claim and you collect.
If you've been hurt in an accident and need someone to look out for your best interests, we'd like to help. We invite you to call us.
Williams & Miller, on your side.
Jones Home Furnishings in Columbia is closed today to mark down prices, to rearrange stock, and to prepare for a giant 9-hour public liquidation. Jones' lease expires. Building must be vacated. The liquidators have taken command. He sets the price. He makes the deals. He is cutting prices lower than we have the heart to do. Everything ordered sold, wall to wall. It's 9 hours of wild selling, Friday only, 12 high noon to 9 p.m. 9 bargain hours, Friday, one day only, 12 noon to 9 p.m. at Jones Home Furnishings in Columbia.
The U.S. Commission on Civil Rights meets in Nashville. A report on midday.
Let's meet the Thomas family. Ham, Bill, Norma, Rich, and Judy, ready for action. Playing against the Garces family. Joanne, Al, Nick, Jerry, and Joe. On your marks. Let's start.